please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 230330.5. Deocta tells me that we can clone some of our crew and use them to start work on the gargantuan refit of the Gloriana. We've not named it yet. We are not, however, going to clone any of the Ferengi because we don't need any more filthy big lobe Xeno scum. Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with a TikTok challenge that needs to find its way to the dinosaurs, the dodo and delicious Brussels sprouts, unicorns, and a tolerant government. Before we move on to a crypto scam, Mercedes Formula 1 team, and Prince Harry. So as I shamelessly plugged myself right at the start and do in every single video, please smash the like. TikTok are known for their challenges, some of which endanger a person's health. These challenges I have criticized before with like a mini series. I think I called it TIT, an acronym for TikTok's idiotic trends. Well, one that was doing its rounds, shouldn't have been, but was, called the Borg Challenge, or the, to give it its proper name, Borg TikTok Challenge. Now, the concept of this involves a rather large drink. This challenge encourages binge drinking, called Borg, with the hashtag Borg having amassed 83 million views at the time of the article that I'm referencing being written. The number, though, is continuing to grow. Taking part in this, though, has led to dozens of people being taken to hospital because they went a bit far. Now, Borg is short for Blackout Rage Gallon. Yeah, so it's basically an acronym, B-O-R-G. I know, it's clever. We all think of the Borg, the collective. You are futile. Well, your resistance certainly is. No doubt you have none and would rather be a Borg right now than a human. No lives matter, folks. In this instance, it involves a person mixing half a gallon of water with half a gallon of alcohol. The typical beverage of choice is vodka. With an electrolyte flavor enhancer, you then consume it, a gallon of fluid that is. Now, it has become popular because people believe that the electrolyte helps to keep them hydrated, but also allows them to drink large quantities of alcohol without feeling drunk because it is diluted with water, because they're morons. Borg is the name given to a large plastic jug that people fill with this drink mixture. Now, I've seen some channels that do make rather ostentatious cocktails in these jugs. It's very interesting, but the amount of alcohol they're putting into it is phenomenal. When the writer of the article references binge drinking as being a consequence of it, that's not my immediate concern. My immediate concern involves a gallon of fluid. Understandably, it is popular with university students and obviously in America because why drink a regular when you can drink a gallon? 28 ambulances were reported to have been called to a local college as students took part in this as part of a St. Patrick's Day celebration called Blarney Blowout. This was at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, who had announced on the 4th of March that the Amherst Fire Department handled 28 ambulances linked to a significant number of alcohol intoxication cases, which I just consider another form of natural selection. They also confirmed none of the cases were life-threatening. I'm not surprised. All they need to do is stick some form of hoover down that kid's throat and remove the vast quantities of fluid that is absolutely brutalizing their lower half. The article linked down below talks about, is the Borg trend dangerous? Assimilation isn't so dangerous because you become one with the collective, but in this case, accidents and falls cause alcohol, breathing risks cause you could choke on your own vomit, mood and memory, it's called a hangover, long-term health issues, and alcohol poisoning. Now this one is not a surprise. Just because you've spread the alcohol across a water does not mean you're somehow not as affected by it. People often find you can sit and drink many glasses of whiskey without anything in it, right? With the percentage of alcohol being as high as 50%. Many glasses later, you're fine. But if you then do, say, the same amount of glasses worth of beer, you often find your legs go a bit quicker. It's a very strange balance, almost like the alcohol's been spread and it affects you more. I can't imagine why. Also, vodka, really? Vodka? I'm not suggesting doing it with whiskey instead because I would never commit such blasphemy on whiskey. But I would suggest How about instead of doing a gallon, a Borg thing, a Borg challenge, how about instead you sit down, you buy yourself a nosing glass and a nosing cap. You buy yourself a lovely bottle of Dalwhinnie, Lagavulin, Tamnavulin, Glenlivet, Jameson Single Pot Still, Teeling, Johnny Walker Blue. I could continue and this would go on forever. Bowmore perhaps, 18 is apparently quite sublime. Jura 21, Singleton 21, Macallan A Night on Earth. I really can go on forever, okay? And instead of challenging yourself to harm yourself as some kind of rite of passage akin to someone setting your mouth on fire and thinking it makes you look cool when all the alcohol's been burnt off, you really don't look cool by the way, have a nice dram of a whiskey. Oh, and Nika 12, that's fantastic. Be a classy bitch, not a celeb bitch. On March the 22nd, it was announced that the SEC had charged Lindsay Lohan, Jake Paul, Akon, and a number of other people for illegally promoting crypto. The reason why is because they were illegally touting two cryptocurrencies and failed to disclose that they were paid to do so. The two cryptocurrencies, Tronix and BitTorrent, were sold by crypto entrepreneur Justin Sun, who was also charged by the Securities and Exchange Commission on Wednesday. Justin Sun and three of his wholly owned companies, Tron Foundation Limited, BitTorrent Foundation Limited, and Rainberry Inc., are accused of the unregistered offer and sale of crypto asset securities and manipulating the secondary market by wash trading, which involves quickly buying and selling cryptocurrencies to make them seem like they were being actively traded. The SEC also says that Justin Sun and the companies paid celebrities with vast social media followings to hype TRX and BTT, and then directed them not to publicly disclose their compensation. The SEC chair, Gary Gensler, said in a statement that this case demonstrates again the high-risk investors face when crypto asset securities are offered and sold without proper disclosure. Other, by the way, celebrities included Soulja Boy, Austin Mahone, Kendra Lust, Lil Yachty, and Neo, whatever. 6 of these celebrities have agreed to pay a total of more than $400,000 to settle the charges without admitting or denying the SEC's findings. It should be noted, Jake Paul has actually agreed to pay more than $400,000 in disgorgement, interest and penalties to settle the charges. Now, since someone like Jake Paul admitted recently he made as much as $30 million losing to Tommy Fury, $400,000 isn't going to hurt him too much. But since his brother Logan was involved in a crypto scam of his own, it does shine a very negative light on the Paul brothers, that both seem to be involved in this area and both seem to be doing quite badly because of it. I will continue to make it my lifelong mission, as long as I'm a content creator, to say, financial advice from Omegon is the following. No lives matter, your money does only to me. I advise that instead of giving your money to cryptocurrencies or scams like this, you instead give it all to me via Patreon, Subscribestar, PayPal, Coffee, or wherever else you'd like to throw your money at where it sticks to me, so I can spend it responsibly on whiskey. Or for those that are interested, this is one of the tweets that got Jake Paul busted. He smirked everyone. But then so is Lindsay Lohan, Little Yachty, and Neo. You're all smirked. If you notice the dates on those tweets, by the way, 2021. Yeah, it took about 2 years for the SEC to get this one dealt with. How tragic. Before we move to the next subject, shameless plug inbound. I have a BitChute channel and I'm desperately trying to grow it to 10,000 subscribers because that's where you receive a reward, a medallion, formerly a plaque, which I referenced as a plague many times in the past. If at all interested in helping me try and hit 10k subscribers over there, I would greatly appreciate it. Link down below. Thank you very much. On to Mercedes. If anyone pays attention to racing, car racing, bike racing, that kind of sport, you'll know about team rules. Generally, if you're in a team of 2 drivers, that is, one is given preferential treatment over the other. If one happens to be on the way out, quite clearly from their skill set that even though they do show semblances of their old form, they're not doing as well as the younger, more invigorated driver, and yet they are still given a form of preferential treatment, something is amiss. It's a form of politics, and it also risks the future of the team. The goal should always be for the team to succeed. Doesn't help when your car isn't as good as it could be. For this, we're going to go to Formula 1 and the team Mercedes, the Silver Arrows. When they brought on GP at one point, didn't Jenson Button win a world title with them? Which was awesome, by the way. Should have gone to Rubens Barrichello, but we'll allow Jenson Button this because he makes fantastic whiskey called Coach Built. I just need a bottle of it. Last year, a Formula 1 journalist had suggested that George Russell's contract needs to be ripped up so that he would then in turn defer to Lewis Hamilton. George Russell is at the moment better, and was last season, than Lewis Hamilton. Last season he was 2 places higher than Lewis Hamilton. They didn't do very well. Mercedes haven't done for the last few seasons, not being able to keep up with Red Bull, although I will argue there was some contention with Verstappen's first world title win. The very idea anyone had suggested that Lewis Hamilton should be deferred to by George Russell, who is the better driver, is stupid. Then again, the team do follow certain rules, and in doing so they do often have George Russell, if he is in front of Lewis, give up the place to Lewis. Those comments were made by a veteran journalist called Peter Windsor, and he argued that Hamilton in turn will be better off and happier if someone like Valtteri Bottas was still in the team. Valtteri Bottas could have overtaken Hamilton multiple times and was ordered to not, or when he was allowed to, Lewis didn't give up the spot. It was embarrassing, by the way. At the first race of this season, Lewis Hamilton tore into his team for their failures, because they qualified 6th and 7th for the Bahrain GP. Verstappen and Leclerc failed to even finish the race. Hamilton could only manage P5 with his teammate 2 places further back. They didn't do very well. Hamilton then apologized, right? He apologized. Yeah, quotes around that. Okay. Well, he then got chastened by the team for his words, and in turn he tore up his apology, because that's respect, everyone. Understanding you are a cock-up or are making mistakes is important. Lewis Hamilton does not like to do this. It is believed, though, as a consequence of the Saudi Arabian GP, that Toto Wolff, the head of Mercedes, will just end up firing people. Those words come from ex-Formula 1 racing driver Ralf Schumacher, the brother of Michael Schumacher, the, let's face it, one of the GOATs of Formula 1 and Formula 1 politics. The reason why these firings would even happen is because teams like Aston Martin have done quite well so far this season. We're only 2 races in. Alonso podiumed. He then had his podium taken away, and I think he's had it given back. I can't remember if he was given it back or not. But it was impressive considering Alonso is older than Hamilton, yet he is doing better. Either a slip in quality of car or a slip in quality of driver. And in the case of Hamilton, it could be both. Let's face it. My view with Hamilton has become quite cynical of late, I will admit. He has shown, and has for years, a level of brilliance. However, Mercedes dominated the game for years, which is why he was first. There were no real challengers, with the only person actually managing to make a dent in his ego being Nico Rosberg, who then won the title and then retired. His own teammate, which by the way was awesome. There is a trend that as you win more, people hate you more, and I fully get it. People hate Floyd Mayweather. They really do. He won everything. He even managed to get his hands on a WBO world title, which he never wanted. Not even joking. He never regarded it as a world title. But when it comes to racing, the politics aspect of it, while a juicy form of drama, always ends up hurting the real talent, because the old guard can't be the simple gatekeeper or enhancement talent they're meant to be. In the case of George Russell, he is showing that even though he's only a few seasons in, he has the talent to carry the torch for the team, and he could well be a world champion eventually. Him, Leclerc and Verstappen, they are the future of it. So finally, Prince Harry. Recently, the Heritage Foundation is investigating claims that Prince Harry's immigration filings may well not have been truthful, because he had in his book Spare disclosed that his previous illegal drug use, like sherbet, Toad from Mario, and that stuff that Mr. Mackey lost in the classroom, these weren't really on his application when he applied for his visa. And so, because he didn't declare it on the form, it would indicate perhaps a form of preference and privilege. You know, the very thing that he doesn't like. He likes to espouse very different ideals now, combating his preferences and preferential treatment and privilege, you know, that. A director at the think tank and their lawyer told a media outlet that the immigration documents could expose a thorny diplomatic issue, whether or not the DHS gave him special treatment, which would, by the way, cause a whole host of problems. Usually, when you apply for a residency permit, you are asked if you've ever used illegal drugs. If you answer yes, results are usually denied, or additional hurdles are put in front of you that can even include drug testing and interviews before you get a special waiver to allow a visa. His memoir does not help him here, folks. In an attempt to find out, the think tank have filed a request with a government agency under the Freedom of Information Act. The Foundation's attorney has revealed that the DHS officials are currently scrambling to find records on him, who have several different official titles and legal names that he may have used on his US immigration application, because that's how you make things disappear. You take advantage of all those titles you don't deserve, and you just make a mess of it. What's interesting is, while that's going on, Prince Harry has actually come here and has actually appeared at London's High Court in person because he believes that a particular newspaper group has made his life hell, using illegal means to do so. The BBC believe that this is having a sense of priorities. Prince, estranged from his family, now living more than 5,000 miles from London, flies in from LA to walk in through the Royal Courts of Justice and into Court 76, with no one knowing yet whether or not he's even going to attend the coronation of King Charles in May. Many believe this is less about principle for the case of Harry and more about optics as open justice. And there's a point to that. Journalists do generally make the lives of celebrities quite uncomfortable. Harry's not the only person, though, to appear in this particular case. Others would include Sir Elton John. The allegations against this newspaper group include the use of bugging devices inside people's cars and homes, surreptitious listening into private phone calls as they were happening, impersonating people to get private information. So it doesn't look good for him. Associated newspapers, the group in question, deny all this and say it will vigorously defend itself if that proves necessary. The pre-trial hearing this week is to determine whether or not this goes ahead and whether the evidence being relied on by the claimants can in fact be used. My view on this is always going to be simple as well, because I find it quite interesting that Harry, he'll go in on them now, these journalists in this instance, but he's been putting his entire life out there in his memoir and other people's lives that did not consent to it. It's a little bit hypocritical, don't you think?